Time travel has been a staple of fiction for as long as anyone can remember. Whether it's used to fix the past, explore the future, or just create endless paradoxes, it's always been a fascinating concept. Some stories treat it as a grand adventure, like Doctor Who or Quantum Leap, while others use it as a backdrop for something more grounded, like a bloke from the 90s juggling two marriages across different decades. Enter Goodnight Sweetheart, a show that takes time travel and asks, what if instead of saving history, the main character just used it to commit light fraud and adultery? Welcome to the Snake Pit, where we're full of bile and venom. I'm your host, Snake Damon, and today we're looking at a time travel series that manages to combine history, romance, and a staggering amount of moral ambiguity. Goodnight Sweetheart. At first, Gary's adventures in the 1940s are harmless enough. He plays the charming rogue, dazzles the locals with his original Beatles covers, and acts like a mysterious man of the world. But as the series progresses, his double life becomes more entangled. In the present, his wife Yvonne is an ambitious career woman who is too focused on her success to notice Gary's frequent absences. In the past, Phoebe is the classic wartime sweetheart, unaware that her secret agent boyfriend is actually a 90s slacker with a time portal in his back pocket. With the help of his best mate Ron, a down-on-his-luck printer, Gary sustains his time-hopping lifestyle, smuggling rationed goods from the present, forging documents, and generally making a mockery of temporal ethics. His moral gymnastics reach Olympic levels when he rationalizes his bigamy on the grounds that he isn't technically married to two women at the same time, even though he very much is. As the years pass, Gary's antics escalate. He marries Phoebe, has a child with her, and sets up a new life in 1940s high society while still keeping his 90s existence afloat. His lies become more elaborate, his time travel exploits more reckless, and yet somehow he never truly faces the consequences of his actions until the final episode. In a twist that feels both poetic and convenient, Gary becomes permanently trapped in the past after saving Clement Attlee from assassination, fulfilling some vague destiny that closes the time portal for good. Yvonne, having grown suspicious, finally learns the truth, and the series ends with both her and Gary contemplating whether they will ever see each other again. It's a bittersweet ending, though one could argue that Gary deserved far worse for his time-traveling shenanigans. I've only just found out about this, so it's fresh in my mind, and honestly, I wish I hadn't. Jumping ahead to 2016, the one-off special Many Happy Returns sees Gary living through the 1960s with Phoebe and their now teenage son, only to be accidentally flung into the 2010s. There, he discovers that Yvonne is now a multi-millionaire, Ron is still as unlucky as ever, and, plot twist, Yvonne was pregnant when Gary vanished in 1999, so now he has a daughter, Ellie, who is the same age as his son in the 60s. And what does Gary do with this shocking revelation? Does he finally try to make amends for his past actions? No, he immediately considers restarting his double life, because of course he does. Some things never change. It's a bizarre attempt at a revival, and while it's always nice to see Nicholas Lyndhurst back in the role, it feels like it exists purely for nostalgia. The original series had a somewhat fitting, if morally dubious, ending, and dragging it back just to have Gary once again flirting with time travel-induced adultery feels unnecessary. Goodnight Sweetheart is a fascinating relic of 90s television, equal parts charming and morally questionable. It's a sitcom that asks its audience to sympathize with a man who, by all accounts, is a selfish, opportunistic liar. And yet, thanks to Nicholas Lyndhurst's likable performance and the show's nostalgic setting, it somehow works. Would it fly today? Probably not. Modern audiences might not be as willing to overlook Gary's behavior, and let's be honest, if the BBC tried to reboot it, we'd probably get some DEI-mandated nonsense where Gary time travels to teach historical figures about climate change. So there you go. As it stands, Goodnight Sweetheart is a product of its time, much like Gary himself, constantly bouncing between decades, making a mess and never quite facing the music. Thanks for dropping by the Snake Pit, where we thrive on untapped potential and lost opportunities. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell like the video, and leave your opinions in the comments, where naturally I won't read them. Until next time, stay venomous.